Hello everybody, how y'all doing? Yeah, I was able to, so far, able to keep her here. Did do a little pressure break with her. Posted that just a little bit ago. I know, shocking. So we're gonna try and do this video with her in it this time. Yeah. So, yeah. Happy Mercury retrograde. Yeah, starts today. And I know this pre-shadow, these last 3 weeks have been challenging already. So fingers crossed. Oh, there she goes. Doesn't last long. I know. But oh well. Excuse me. So anyway, yeah, the I've got my fingers crossed that the pre-shadow is gonna be it. But I I had something happen last night even. I have no idea how in the world I did this, but it's yeah, I just feel like I keep between the Pluto retrograde and especially with with Saturn being in retrograde, being all about I don't know how to say, but uniformity or what have you, um, and just basically being like that emperor card, that staunch ruler, that leader, or whatever the case may be. Um, Basically being the teacher, okay? And I feel like that I've been backtracking to things that have happened over the last few months, and being like, hey, okay, let's revisit this situation that happened, all right? Only actually, instead of it being a Dark Night of the Soul sort of thing, it being an actual, oh, guess what? We're actually going to revisit this. Ooh, okay. And see what it is that you have learned. Oh, okay. And that's kind of what happened last night. I'm just like, didn't I already just go through this? Okay. So yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it. Yeah, is instead of being all, oh my gosh, and why does this keep happening? That victim mentality and so forth, flipping that script. And being like, okay, what if let's see how far I've actually come since that has happened. And that's the way I'm looking at it. So, yeah. And basically, what happened last night is I hit a curb. And it's funny because I see there was this bumper sticker I had seen several weeks ago. And I thought it was a hilarious bumper sticker. It's normalizing hitting the curb. And I was just like, yeah, that's me. Totally. Totally me. But somehow in the process with this curve, I didn't think I had hit it that hard or what have you, normal, typical, but somehow or another, you got the mud guard in your wheel well, okay? Um, it's basically the front driver's side, and that I hit, and somehow or another, that guard, basically the mud flap, um, somehow or another it got caught on the curb. I still can't figure that one out. It's like, okay, if it's gonna happen, I'm gonna figure it out how to do it. That's me. And I'm like, okay, and yeah, it wound up ripping right off, for the most part. So I basically ripped it out and I threw it in the car. I was going to try and throw it in the trunk, but there wasn't enough room. especially with stuff I already had back there. So I threw it in the back seat and went inside. I was just about to pick up my first delivery. I went inside, picked up the delivery, came back out, and I'm hearing this noise. I'm like, oh, crud. So I check it out, and I could see that some of the mud flap was still in there. And it was part of part that I tore out or whatever. Basically, it was folded. It's folded over. Excuse me, and catching on the wheel basically. So I'm trying to bend it and everything, and just so in that way I can at least maybe finish this delivery. And it just keeps catching, and I do the delivery. I come back out, and unfortunately, it was a 4-story apartment building, and it's hot. I mean, really hot. I mean, outside it wasn't too bad. I'm kind of used to it and everything, with living out here in the desert. But the stairwell, the hallway, it was all outdoor, and it was just retaining the heat from the day. And of course, it's all concrete and everything. And it was just like, oh, the heat, even with wearing my mask, it was just stifling. And I'm running around trying to find this apartment, and I couldn't find it. It was just like the signs keep saying, "Oh, it's over here, it's over there," and I'm just like, "Where?" I get all the way to the last number. I was looking for 4040, and I get all the way to 4039, and I'm like, "Well, where's 4040?" I'm looking around all over. I'm like, "Where the heck is 4040?" And of course, I'm having difficulties breathing, with and everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I seen this other stairwell. I'm like, it can't be a 5th floor. There's only 4 floors. What the heck is up there? I'm like thinking, well, maybe it's a um, like a suite or something, with its own stairwell or something, and it just happens to have that number. So I go up there. It's a service door to the roof, and I'm like, oh, great. Where the fuck is this damn place? So I backtrack, and I go back, and come to find out, it's this gate that was right in front of the stairwell. And completely missed it, because sitting right there is a sign saying, "Oh, well, 4040 is this way." Okay, so that's the direction that I went, and I completely missed this gate that was there, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. It's all good for a good laugh, right? I take the food. It was, of course, the instructions are laid at the door, and I'm just like, screw this. I'm putting it right here in front of the gate, as I know I'm not going to be getting a good tip even out of this. Yeah, it wound up being a 50-cent tip. Hey, at least I got something. That's the way I look at it. Because a lot of times you don't even get that. So I just left it there, and even if you give good service, there's just some people who just absolutely don't tip. So it's like, okay, whatever. It's on them. But yeah, I left it there, and of course I went back down the 4 flights of stairs. And I get back to my car, and I'm just like, oh gosh, I hope that everything is okay or whatever. I get in, and I try and back out, and oh my gosh, there's this noise. I'm like, oh crud. Wow. So fortunately, the apartment complex is like right connected with this shopping center. So I pull in there, and I got on the phone to my mobile mechanic that I use. He's actually a neighbor, nice kid. has helped me out quite a bit. I've given him some pretty good business since we hooked up a couple months ago. Oh gosh. Oh man. So anyway, I call him, I explain to him, and he's just like, "Do you want me to come over?" Or and because I wasn't too far from home, so it was no big deal. And I'm just like, "No, I think I might be able to get it home." But I start trying to, so we hang up, I start going, and I call him right back. I'm like, "No, I think you need to come over here and look at this," because I'm just like, with what I was hearing, and I know cars. So, and with what I was hearing, I'm like, this is not sounding good. If it is what I'm thinking. And I'm just like, oh, this is not a good situation. But I wanted more of an expert opinion. I mean, it's like, yeah, I know cars, my father, with especially with being an only child, and yeah, my parents were like, hey, look, no, we're not going to raise a sissy butt here. So my father, he had me in engines, doing oil changes, tune-ups. Of course, this is before, we had everything computerized and so forth, but still yet. And of course, I've had that big learning curve since cars have been becoming computerized. But so yeah, I learned off of old school cars, but I know what a carburetor is and all that. So, but yeah, I got my hands dirty growing up. So yeah, I can do my oil changes on my own oil changes. Excuse me. I just prefer not to. It's actually cheaper to go in and take it in. So, but anyway, then I don't have to deal with it. But at least I know. That's the big thing. I know, and with what I was hearing, I'm like, oh, this is not sounding good. So I knew I didn't hit it hard enough to bend the frame or anything like that, but I was still a little bit concerned. Well, maybe I hit it harder than I thought. Maybe I damaged the axle or some shit. But I don't. I know what I'm thinking there. But anyway, Uh, but anyway, yeah. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, okay, waiting for him to come and so forth. And when he got there, he um, of course, he always brings he has always has tools in his trunk and everything. So he gets it out and takes a look, and everything's fine. So, oh well, I don't have a wheel well guard in there anymore. What the heck? The other one's damaged too from when I hit that rod, whatever it is. I still have it as a memento. Because people don't believe me unless I actually show them, and then they're like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, I have no idea. For those of you who don't know, this was, I think back in May or something like that. Yeah, May. Start of May, that's right. I remember that because we just finished up with eclipse season. And it was just like, okay, I see how this is going to be playing out. But anyway, I had picked it, just when I was still doing the ride sharing, I had picked somebody up and I needed to get up on the freeway. And I was just getting off the on-ramp and starting to merge onto the freeway when I hit something in the road. Had no idea what it was. I'd show you, but it's in my car. But anyway, wound up flattening my tire. I was able to get off over there onto the shoulder. Wound up being a huge ordeal. I wasn't in the best part of town, and I was having difficulties getting a tow truck. I have like 2 different free towing services, and I was having difficulties with the one. I don't know what happened, but they were trying to say that, oh, I was going to have to pay like almost $300 for a tow service. I'm like, yeah, that ain't going to happen. And then I have the other one. I was having difficulties connecting up with their GPS service to do the location finder. And so it kept asking me to input a location, an actual address. And I'm like, well, I'm not at an address. I'm on the freaking freeway here in a bad part of town. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I had even, with the other service that they were trying to charge me, I was on the phone with them, and they were like, well, maybe I can get a hold of NHP, Nevada Highway Patrol, and maybe they can give you a ride to the next exit or something. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm safer here where I'm at. Next exit? No, I do not want to be stranded there. I'm safer where I'm at. So yeah, either way, NHP shows up, and oh my gosh. And of course they want to tow my car, and I'm like, no. And it's in tow, not, oh, let's help you out and take, no, they were trying to impound it. And I'm like, no, I'll find a way. I'll figure it out. Oh my gosh. So yeah, it actually wound up, I did get a tow. What I wound up doing with the other tow service that I have is I wound up inputting an address that I could think of that I knew was close by. And I figure, okay, when the tow truck company calls me, I'll let them know, hey, I'm not at that address. This is what happened. I need it, but I'm actually here. They're like, okay, well, you're going to have to get back on the phone with the other. And I'm just like, great. Yeah. So, and I had tried to explain that to them, and everything, but unfortunately it didn't trickle down. So, yeah, it wound up being a huge ordeal and so forth. So, and of course, with it being dark and so forth, I couldn't see what was going on, and it wasn't until the next morning I went out and I was trying to figure out what happened, and that's when I was in there, and I'm looking in the wheel, looking at trying to figure out, where the blowout happened, and everything, and then I just happened to notice something sticking out from the front of the wheel well guard. Basically that rubber that's in there. It was sticking out from the front of the wheel well. And I'm just like, what the heck is that? I pull it out. I'm going to try and do this real quick. Oh, sorry. Trying to get myself a little bit situated so I can kind of show you maybe. It was this long rod, about this long and about this bit thick around. Yeah. And then it had this nut attached to it also. And I'm just like, where in the world? It would remind you of something that you would see securing a bridge together or something. And it was just like, what in the world is this thing? Yeah. So anyway, I had to get my tire replaced, and it wound up damaging my tire sensor, which I still haven't been able to replace yet, but I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, there was that, and then there was during this Mercury retrograde pre-shadow, it's been real chaos. I went out one night and both of my headlights went out at the same time. Usually when the lamps go out, it's just one at a time. No, they both went out at the same time, completely black. It was like, okay, but in the process I was able to get everything switched over to LED, so it's been much nicer. Been able to see a lot better. So yeah, there was that, and then there's this recurring electrical problem that I kept having with the driver's side tail light. We've been basically doing process of elimination with that, and fingers crossed that we got that taken care of, that fixed now. So, and then of course last night I decided to do that. What the heck, So yeah, I mean, I can sit back and I can be like, just like all the posts that you see where it's just like, oh my gosh, with the Mercury retrograde, and especially since we have these other retrogrades happening as well. but I prefer to sit back and reflect on it. And it's like, okay, yeah, this is very similar to things that we've already been through, even just a few months ago. How much have you grown since then? What have you learned since then? It's like, yeah. And I could definitely see last night with my response with everything. It's like, yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm still gonna probably see about smudging my car. No, I'm not gonna look at it that way. It's like, no, this has all been a lesson with how responding, because we can all, when we get in these situations, we can all have a tendency to do that victim mentality, get into that victim mode. Oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? That sort of thing. But it's like, no. I prefer to look at it all as a learning experience. So, yeah. But, yeah, I was going to do the little update on, I did try and, with trying to get across my collarbone with the acupressure mat. It didn't really quite work out all that terribly well. So initially I was taking the pillow and just putting it right here, laying on it, and then I thought, well, okay, I'll just do another 30 minutes and have it across here. That wasn't working out very well either. So I decided, without even thinking, I just basically took the mat and put it right here. Actually wound up not being too terribly bad. But yeah, I wound up basically doing about an hour, and it felt really, really good. It's really helping to keep things open here, and I definitely noticed a big difference this morning with the allergy issues and so forth. Not feeling as congested or what have you. So I might be onto something here. And then, of course, a little bit on the sore side between adding the yoga stretches and then, of course, hitting a curve last night. So, y'all are going to start thinking, you know what, lady? I don't ever want you driving my car. I'm actually usually a good driver, but it's like, what the heck? No. Again, the lessons. So, but anyway, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. And to be honest with you, I completely forgot about the appointment this morning until I got the a notification from my calendar. Thank goodness I put it on my calendar. I'm just like, oh, crud. I forgot I got that appointment tomorrow morning. So, yeah. But I'm glad to see that a lot of you are doing well and so forth, and that you all are following me for inspiration for things, and possibly learn some things too and everything. So anyway, I hope that you all have a great day. Take it easy with everything. Fortunately, with Mercury retrogrades, they only last for 3 weeks, but of course, we have that 3 weeks before, 3 weeks after, with the pre and post shadows and so forth. So just go with the flow. Take it one step at a time. Okay? Not even one day at a time. Just take it one step at a time, and take care of yourselves. Keep yourselves grounded. Keep yourselves centered. And when things like these sort of things that happen, and of course we're going to get frustrated, with all the technological glitches that are going to be happening and so on and so forth. Just remember, this is a learning experience. Okay? And just take it like that. All right? All right. I know. Unfortunately, I had one of my favorite songs come on last night too. I did after everything was said and done. Oh, and that was the other thing too. I almost forgot about it. Well, I didn't have any cash on me, but fortunately there was a grocery store right there, and I was just like, okay, well, I'll just see about killing two birds. I needed something anyway, and it was nothing that was perishable. Basically, I needed toilet paper. So I was just like, okay, yeah, I know I'm going to pay a higher price here, but okay, I'll just go in and get it and get cash back. Well, I used the self checkout because the one cashier that was open, she had a bit of a line, and so I used the self checkout, and I went and I tapped my card, and it didn't give me an option for cash back. And I'm like, oh gosh, this defeats the whole purpose. So I talked to the lady who, supervises, the self checkout, and I explained to her what happened. She's like, oh, did you tap or did you insert your card? I'm like, I tapped it. She's like, that's why. I guess apparently with those stores, if you tap instead of inserting, it doesn't give you the cash back option. So she has to get the manager to see about it's either that or making another purchase, something really inexpensive or whatever. And I'm just like, no, like let's just see if we can get the manager to do a refund, and then maybe I can see about repurchasing, and then so on and so forth. And we were going through it, and it actually wound up working better for me because I wasn't looking forward to paying that expensive price, since how I had used a debit card instead of having it going back to the debit card. He just went ahead and did the cash back for me. And I'm like, well, shoot, that works out even better because between that and I did have a little bit of cash on me, but not enough to pay my guy. But with combined, it worked out to be exactly what I needed to pay him. So see, things work out for a reason. And that's another thing that I look at too is I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason. Some of it can be lessons, but in the circumstance, seeing how that part worked out in the process. What happened previously was possibly something where I was being stopped, so I wouldn't wind up in an even worse situation. That's the way I look at it as well. So yeah, it could be very frustrating at that moment. It's like, why is this? No. Number one, lesson. Number two, you're probably being prevented from something worse happening. Being in the middle of something even worse. So something to consider. So, but yeah, that was just kind of like, okay, but I did go out to work afterwards. I was like, nope, I'm going to be out here. And I know I'm not going to be making as much money, but, I'm still out here and I'm still working and everything. Yeah, there were some little bit hiccups and so forth here and there, but the really cool part is a really cool song came on that I really love. So a lot of you know I like to listen to the oldie station while I'm out there. And one song I haven't heard in a while, which I absolutely love. I'm not really a big fan of I think it came out in the 50s, and I'm not a big fan of 50s music all that much. I'm really more 60s, especially late 60s, when we start getting into a little bit more of the harder stuff, and of course the flower power and everything. But there's one song that I really love. I think, like I said, I think it's from the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. Leader of the Pack. Love that song. It's like, yeah. Drummers and bikers. See a pattern here, Miss Badass, loving badasses. Yeah, I know. I'm a sucker. I know. Can't help it. But I like strong men. Yes, I know that I'm a strong woman. That's the thing. I know I'm a strong woman, and I like a strong man. minute I get around somebody who's a clinger or something, someone who has to be real clingy right from the get-go, it's like, whoa, back off, buddy. You know, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not that way. Or it's like, no, 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 no. You know, I don't mind talking all the time, you know, texting or whatever, you know, the case may be, or what have you. But I'm talking about like a few years ago, I was trying to do some online dating. I've done that. I've tried doing it a few times. Definitely not worked out. Uh, it's just not me. But anyway, there was this guy. He had reached out to me, and we were talking a little bit, but it was just I wasn't vibing or whatever. And I was just like, okay, well, I gotta go, you know, so on and so forth. And then he texts me back, and he was just like, yeah, I basically was saying, you know, I need to go to work or what have you, and he was just like, oh, well, let me know when you're done from work, and I'm just like, yeah, no, and you know, and he was basically already like planning our whole lives together, and it's like, dude, we've only known each other for 2 minutes, you know. One of those situations, and it's like, no, not going down this road. And I basically let him know, look, I'm sorry, but this is just not for me. I'm not the girl for you. So that's like, no, don't want that sort of thing in my life. So, but yeah, I like I said, I know I'm a strong woman. Yeah, we all have our moments. We all have our times and everything. But what I go for is a strong man. So, but anyway. All right. I guess I see putting my timer. I need to go. I probably should anyway. Do something with my hair. Who cares? Go do my yoga. That's more important. All right. I love you all. I'll talk to y'all soon.